So welcome to Chasing the Bread podcast with your host, Courtney Clark, and today we are going to be discussing all things righteous woman of God. I have people ask me many times how I manage to uphold such a pleasant, attitude towards people, towards life, towards my downfalls, towards, even my enemies. I would like to delve into 4 women who had the most righteous traits and attributes, who are looked at as examples in the Bible for women, and these women consist of Ruth, Mary, Abigail, and Tabitha, and all of these women have very separate qualities, but that in conjunction with all of these qualities together, we can make a blueprint for a very close to perfect, because none of us can ever be perfect, but close to perfect, Proverbs 31, righteous, disciplined, kind-hearted and considerate woman of God. The world tells us as women that we should, fight for feminism, fight for freedom, be loud, be prideful. It teaches us to be very self-centered, to be very attention-seeking. It teaches us to put self first, It's actually, that this put self first agenda movement has become very, very popular over the last, let's say 20 to 30 years. And at the same time as, having self-respect and, loving yourself, I feel like, as God says, the greatest amongst you is he who puts himself last. So as much as I understand that concept of, putting yourself first, as like a mother and things like that, we need to consider ourselves. However, the Bible paints a completely different idea of what a righteous woman is and what a righteous woman consists of. If anything, God and the Bible instructs us and advises us in completely different ways to which the world, the modernized world, advises us, Women of the Bible were disciplined, they were kind-hearted, they were quiet, they were reserved, they were modest, they were considerate, they had so much humility, they were willing to, put themselves last in order for somebody else to win, They were not revengeful. They would do things that people did not expect them to do, that was not, within the normality of humanity at that time, or human behavior at that time. And these women were highlighted because of their ability to remain holy when, sin could have overtaken them. And I wanted to get into this so very deeply because I feel like it's so easy for us, especially in this day and age as women, to, fall off, to, be influenced by the devil, by sin, by temptation, by pain. Godly women are always going to be peacemakers. They are always going to be for reconciliation. Godly women are always going to be slow, very slow to anger, Godly women are set apart, You would recognize a godly woman because they are set apart, Chosen literally means set apart, And this is why women who have, who are close to the Lord have such bright, beautiful lights to them, because the Lord is living within them and they refuse to interact with the devil's games. And it shows, it literally shows, you can't hide who you are. You're either working for the devil or you're working for God. There's no middle ground here. And this is why we have to find it within ourselves as women of this particular generation, because it's so easy to, for the lines to be blurred. So very easy. We must remember what God is advising us to do. Biting your tongue. Biting your tongue is something that will get you so very far, Biting your tongue when you have the ability to absolutely destroy somebody through your words is a very, very empowering thing to do. And I promise you, once that passes, once you actually pass that temptation of, wanting to hurt somebody back, you're empowered and you know that you have not been touched by any kind of repercussions of then your behavior to somebody else's actions. And that's something I learned, I think, quite early on. In comparison to other people around me, I'll try extremely hard to not retaliate to people's wicked ways, because I don't want to be affected in my past, in my future, by my own behaviors, I don't even believe in karma, we don't believe in that, but I believe in the Lord's vengeance, and the Lord's vengeance could come for me, so I'm going to do what I can to remain holy and to not let another person's evil ways or sins be rubbed off upon myself, to which now I am also at a detriment, to which now I've also lost out, to which now, I'm also suffering the consequences of falling into sin. It does not matter who made you do it, because nobody made you do it. Believe me, you didn't have a, weapon to your head, okay? You chose to sleep with the devil. You chose to mate with the devil. You chose to go into agreement with the devil, into covenant with him, okay? Because all the time we have God on our shoulder and we have the devil on our shoulder, okay? We have two completely different natures and entities who are trying to guide us, okay? A true woman of God is always going to be compassionate, okay? She's always going to put compassion first. Always going to put compassion first. Yes, okay, if somebody is doing evil, we must tell them, but it's to be in a loving way, guys. Just like God advises us to do. He says, when you do have something that, opposes your belief system, or when somebody is doing something that goes against God's, instructions, we are not to, judge these people or condemn these people. Even Jesus did not condemn the world. God says he did not send Jesus to condemn the world, but to save us, guys. So we need to remember this when we are feeling, certain feelings of certain feelings of judgment coming upon us, okay? Because seriously, guys, if Jesus doesn't do this, what makes us think that we should be able to do this? We are all sinners, okay? Just as it says in Romans, all of us were born into sin. We inherited sin. Romans also mentions how it's near enough impossible for us not to sin, okay? And that is part of our nature also. As much as we have the Holy Spirit within us, as much as we were made in God's image, we also have the spirit of sin, okay? That many of times is able to take over until we have the wisdom of God, a certain level of wisdom from God. Every single one of these women had humility, okay? They were very, very easily, they took criticism easily, okay? They found criticism beneficial, okay? When they were criticized, they were able to put their hands up, take accountability. Having humility means to have a very honest view and perception of yourself, okay? It means that you are teachable, okay? It means that you are able to humble yourself to a certain level to realize and accept certain truths. And this is what we see throughout these four women, as I mentioned, through, Mary and Ruth and Abigail and Tabitha. We see a continuous pattern in their behaviors, okay? And that is another one of them. So, as I bring this to a close, I just want you guys to always remember, as women of God who, whether you be a baby Christian or a mature Christian, please always remember to try and inhabit the attributes of the women throughout the Bible, because they were truly great examples for us, okay? And we do not need to follow the world's example of what a woman is. We don't need to follow Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion and, Jennifer Lopez. These are very, very, uncommon women. This doesn't happen every day, okay, guys? We need to look at the everyday woman and how the everyday woman could infuse these attributes into her life in order so that she can really fulfill her assignments that God has set before her, okay? So that she can really become her very, very best self, so that she doesn't end up hindering or jeopardizing the blessings that God has in store for her. Yes, but I'd definitely love to delve into this a whole lot more, but this being my first video speaking upon it, I just wanted to touch on it and really give you guys just like an outline of what a godly woman consists of, and the first few kind of pointers as to what we should be looking into. Before we start thinking huge, we must look within, okay? We must look internally, okay? But anyway, guys, God bless you once again, and I'm going to see you extremely soon with another YouTube video. But I hope you've enjoyed this, and yes, God bless you all.